The spring of 2000 was certainly one to remember for the Knight Hale boys. In every state from Alabama to Missouri, turkeys were at least 10 days ahead of most previous years. Gobbling ferociously in March certainly led to anticipation of a great season ahead. When the first day of each state's season rolled around, our hunters were not disappointed. Hens were laying, and in some instances, mature hens were already setting. This made for lots of gobbling, as well as great hunting. The Knight Hale team started this spring in the South at Terra Wildlife and Cane Mount Plantation, both near Vicksburg, Mississippi. From there, the boys traveled to Alabama to hunt on the Warrior River. In early April, the team could be found in Tennessee, the Ozark Mountains in Arkansas, and then to Missouri, with a final stop in their home state of Kentucky. Each place offered hunts and experiences with people that the boys will never forget. Turkey hunting is a sport which consists of sharing stories, making friends, one-on-ones with a wary gobbler, and lots of spring morning memories that people share that makes turkey hunting special. As we reflect on the 2000 season, it is Hunter Burns' hunt that comes to mind as he and his good friend Dixon Brook share memories of Hunter's dad, being best friend to both because of time spent in the outdoors together. Then it's the excitement of Matt Jackson, the 11-year-old nephew of Walter Parrott, taking his first gobbler. Next, it's the memory of Doug Travis, 81-year-old, still active employee of Kentucky Fish and Wildlife, taking a Big Tom. And finally, it's the special memory of Jeff Pryor, 42-year-old friend, co-worker, and die-hard turkey hunter, taking his last gobbler before going home to meet the Lord. Memories like these and many more that made up the spring of 2000 for the Knight Hale team. No other sport can offer a bond that even death cannot break and give to each of us who participate a lifetime of precious memories.
You know, boys, turkey hunting is all about memories and sharing times with one another. Some of the experiences we've had out there with that turkey trying to whip us, I can remember a bunch of times that turkey whipped me, more so than I remember ones that I got. That's what I remember. But I also, you know, I really enjoy turkey hunting because I don't think there's any other sport that I know of that has any more camaraderie involved in it, any more diversity of people. It's a kid sport, it's an old man sport, it's a woman sport, it's a man sport, it's every single body's sport, and I think
it's a growing sport.
It's a
cheating sport when you look at what we do, and y'all cheat on your hunting places and don't tell us all the spots.
In other words, you think there's a little lying going on?
I ain't gonna say
there's a lot of lying going on.
Well, folks, speaking of turkey hunters, thanks for joining us today. This is our annual Spring Ultimate Turkey Hunting video, in which we have subtitled this year Precious Memories. And we certainly did that for a special reason. We've had a co-worker, Jeff Pryor. Harold was with us for 13 years working, known him for 20 years, was a great turkey hunter. Jeff had a bout with cancer. He whipped it for 4 years, but it finally whipped him, unfortunately. But you know what, you and I can't tell you how lucky we are to have the precious memories of being able to take him and Jerry Turner, who were best of friends, right, out 5 days before he died on his last turkey hunt.
And he enjoyed that hunt.
And he enjoyed it. And I want to tell you folks, we're dedicating this year's video to Jeff Pryor, who is probably one of our old-time better friends we've ever had, who was absolutely a tremendous turkey hunter. And it's just, you know, you never lose that desire to want a turkey hunt 5 days now before Jeff passed on to go home to be with the Lord. His desire was to go turkey hunting once again. And even though he was debilitated to some extent,
He was ready to go.
he was ready to go on both ends. He was ready to go hunting, he was ready to go home.
Right.
But you know what, boys, that's an incentive for all of us. And speaking about incentives, speaking about memories, and that would certainly be a precious memory to me, is thinking about Harold taking an 81-year-old man turkey hunting this year, and that's a precious memory from the standpoint that I just hope to live to be 81, much less be going turkey hunting.
You know, that really done me a lot of good because Mr. Doug Travis is the oldest state employee for the Fish and Wildlife State of Kentucky.
Still active.
Still active. He has literally taught thousands of children the great outdoors on hunting and fishing. He has taught them to shoot, you know, and he works at the conservation camp. You know, he's one of my heroes. He is one of my heroes. I really look up to him, and to get to go turkey hunting and watch him shoot a turkey off his shoulder what he's used to shooting, and just to see how good an outdoorsman he was, it did me a lot of good.
Yeah, you think about that now, guys. He's 81 years old, still going, still actively employed. Shot the turkey off the wrong shoulder because he was having trouble with his shooting eye. Good gracious. Is that memories or what?
And I tell you what, the turkey was dead.
He done that because he's a turkey hunter.
He's a hunter. He's a good outdoorsman.
Well, Harold, you had another memory down there with Hunter Burns this year, didn't you?
Hunter Burns in Alabama. You know, Hunter's dad, who's deceased, was Buck Burns. They were the closest of friends. They hunted together every time one went, the other went. They talked to each other every day. And, you know, to watch Hunter think about his dad on this turkey hunt, and I know we asked him about his gloves. You remember we said something about his gloves. You want a new pair of gloves, Hunter? He said, no. Said, these were my dad's gloves. Said, I'm going to wear them as long as anything's left.
That was his precious memories of his dad.
That was his precious memory. And, you know, Dixon Brooks was Hunter's dad's one of his closest friends. And Dixon and Hunter now are good hunting buddies. You know, that brings back precious memories for both of them.
You're exactly right, Harold. And talking about the father image there, guys, I was unfortunate in a way. I guess my dad didn't take me hunting, and I didn't have that precious memory, but I've got Harold out there hunting with me, so he's my fatherly figure now, and since he's much older now, that's my precious memory right there. And so now that having been said, I get my precious memories off of Harold. Walter, you had a pretty unique experience this year too, didn't you?
I did. First of all, I've had a lot of precious memories hunting with Linda, my wife, and enjoy every minute we get to spend together outdoors. But also this spring, I got to take my nephew, who was 12 years old at the time, and he was able to harvest his first turkey. And he did a lot of studying, and we practiced our shooting well before season, and he was ready to go, and Chuck and I had a great time with him.
Taking a kid, 12 years old, to kill their first turkey.
He has got the bug now.
And he's got the bug bad. After school every day, he was chasing the turkeys around home there, and he's got it pretty bad. I think we've created a monster.
I'm not sure he's not a better turkey hunter than Walter. he heard the turkeys long before we did. He could sit still, and, you know, Linda's about the same way. And the good thing about having Linda around Walter, she keeps him straight. Y'all know how hard that is.
Absolutely.
Well, now, Chuck, you've told us you had something special to tell us. You never would tell us. You know, we've had to try to rehearse our lines, but he's held something back. What was your special deal this time?
I'm forgetful, but speaking of forget, there's so many people that we forget throughout the season. There are people, outfitters, people that share turkey hunting with us that they're not going to be in this video, and without those people, you know, it wouldn't be possible. And I think we ought to take a little time to say thank you to all those people because they've helped us tremendously. And the precious memories, the video is definitely, it's a fitting title, without a doubt. And speaking of thank you, there's a new little product, and I don't want to make a commercial out of this, but I tell you what, it's something that I believe in. And Walter, you look through it today, it's a Gobbler guide, and these two guys, friends, whatever, have been innovators of product through the years. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot of people that pick a Me Too product out, and they take it and they reproduce it. Lonesome Hen, Old Yeller, Fighting Purrs, Deer Calls, Easy Grunter Plus. This Gobbler guide might be the best tool for beginning, advanced, every turkey hunter there is out there, and we're going to be going through it today. And
it makes me feel like we've got a chance now. We got this.
Hale's looking at me. He said, "You said enough. Hush. Let's go turkey hunting."
Don't be stealing our thunder on this new product right here. But I appreciate that, Chuck. We have put several years of our experience into this, and And I hope that this becomes somebody else's precious memory at some point.
And I'll tell you something else right now. This is the only one in hand. I'm going to keep it for turkey season. So.
Well, I don't know about that, but when you think about all the people that we have to thank, and you mentioned some of them, we'd like to thank the people that are behind the scenes who help run the cameras. Tony Hurd, who does our editing, puts all this stuff together for us. And also the fact that we've got so many memories involved here. What do you say that while we're rehearsing a little of this and talking about our special memories, we just sat back and enjoy this year's video. Look at all these tracks up down this logging road right here. What these turkeys been doing in the afternoon, Bob?
Staying right on this ridge right here. There's two gobblers gobbling pretty good right here. We might
All right, look.
Since we got this yellow top field right here, I know they've been using it. There's a tracks there. Let's call before we top that ridge right there. Did you hear something? I thought it was shot, John. Let's ease up here by another 15 yards. Come on. He cut in on it? Cut you off.
All right, look. As flat as these bottoms are, let's just set up right here, because he's answered us.
He got to come right here.
What's on the other side of this
There's
ridge right
another
there?
slough just like this. This ridge goes around, makes an L. He's right, it sounds like he's right on the end right there.
All right, let's set up right here.
David is down in Mississippi at Terra Wildlife with one of their top guides, Bobby Culbertson. Bobby and Tom Jones have scouted and located some areas that gobblers are hanging out in. There's nothing like local knowledge of the area, especially from experienced hunters. Terra is known for its excellent bow hunting opportunities for big whitetails, and they offer limited spring gobbler hunts. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and after following hens all morning, this gobbler probably lost sight of his lady friends. Turkey gobblers get panicky when they lose their hens early in the season. They're used to being with the girls, so if he can't see them, he'll go back to strutting areas and try to gobble one up. This lone gobbler was a perfect candidate to fall victim to the deadly lonesome hen. David is a master of the push-pull turkey call, so pay attention to his different techniques for using this call.
You kill him?
Well, now, Jones, you got to give me credit. The little lonesome hen will work in the afternoon just as well as it will in the morning. Wasn't that something?
I ain't giving you credit. I'll give the credit to Lonesome Hen. I guess the caller did have a little something to do with it. That was awesome.
I'll tell you what had to do with it. 2-year-old turkey.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you something now. I listened to that thing this morning. You were making a little yelp on it this morning. That yelp, 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 yelp. A hen, she gets excited. She starts.
A little raspy up in there.
And comes down, you know. Man, you were out there 50 or 60 yards, and it's like I said, you don't do the call justice till you hear it in the woods.
You're absolutely right. And of course, we're down here at Terra and the lower Mississippi here. The yellow tops are in full bloom. It's time for the turkeys to do it this morning. We struggled a little bit, but I think persistence was the name of the game. We came back this afternoon. I'm not sure we had a whole lot of faith because we didn't hear much this morning.
Well,
but you know, this is the second turkey's answer this afternoon, and in these bottoms, one tip I want to give anybody in Mississippi bottoms or any other bottoms is when you hear him, you better set up, because we set up immediately on that first one and scared him.
I was going to say, is that tip after you scared that turkey?
No, it's after we killed
this me. I'm jerking the camera around. Yeah, it's a bad feeling when you call and a turkey cuts you off 2 times. You sit down there in that first call, boy, you're on pins and needles, nothing. And the fourth call, nothing.
You know he's done spooked.
But that turkey answered you 600 yards, and he came every inch of it.
You know, another thing, too, I noticed, Chuck, and I want to give credit to where credit's due. I'm shooting your what is
870.
It's 870. Okay, I was thinking you had the automatic here. I done got totally confused. And we put a Kicks choke in it. Just did that last week. And I want you to know something. Stone dead at about 46 steps. Those Winchester 5s broke him down. He didn't even flop.
Yeah, you know, and that's the 1 3/4, 3-inch Supreme. It's unbelievable. I put 48 number 5s in the head and neck of a turkey target at 43 yards the other day.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's been a great afternoon. First day here in Mississippi, right here at Terra. Old Bobby Dean put us right on the turkey. We owe him a big thanks. I don't know nothing else to do but go fishing right now, because you're not going to hunt until tomorrow.
We can look at some more of these deer tracks that big around. We coming down here bow hunting this year. Man, I ain't never seen nothing like it.
Harold Knight's down in Mississippi at Cane Mount Plantation. It's mid-morning, and he's in an area where Ray Forrest has been hearing a few gobblers.
It's about 9 o'clock in the morning. This is absolutely a gorgeous turkey hunting day. This is about the 3rd or 4th stop I've stopped giving a cutting sound to turkey. I'm trying to get one to answer me. I ain't any luck yet. So I'm going to just keep walking and covering a lot of territory to try to get one to answer me. I heard him. He's a pretty good piece off, but that's just exactly what I'm looking for. Now, what I want to do is to cover the territory about half the distance, and then I take my crow call and try to fine-tune exactly where he's at. And then I'll go in there and set up, put my cutting call up and my crow call up and get a soft call out and try to call the turkey up. Man, I heard him.
It's also important to not go straight toward the turkey. Move in to one side or the other in case the bird starts to you. Then you won't spook him. Usually, if a gobbler answers hen calls, then responds to a locator call, he's a hot bird. A gobbler like this more than likely is alone, so an aggressive style of calling could bring him right in. Using different calls makes the gobbler think you're a whole flock of hens and can really fire a bird up. If you call aggressively and then tone it down like a hen that's lost interest, longbeards can't stand it. Listen close, and you'll hear whispering as Harold and cameraman Tony Hurt try to get together on a shoot signal. Filming can be trying. You'd think these boys wanted this bird to walk off.
Folks, I almost let this turkey slip by me this morning. Me and the cameraman, Tony, got our signals messed up. He was telling me to shoot, and I couldn't hear him, but whatever. I enjoyed seeing him strut. He came right to us, and it was a great hunt. You know, a good tip of the day would be, you know, a lot of people's confidence level is not too good after the first hour of hunting. I suggest you stay out there on these pretty days and hunt, you know, up to, if you can hunt all day, hunt all day. If you can hunt till 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, hunt. Because these turkeys, a lot of times, for example, this turkey probably had a hen with him early this morning, and that hen slipped away from him, and man, he was lonesome. And, you know, he was just listening for that cutting sound, and that's what I was doing, walking around making that loud cutting sound, and he heard it. You know, it's nothing uncommon for me to use 3 different type calls in a day's hunt. You know, I had 3 calls I used this morning. I had my mouth diaphragm I cut with, taking an old yeller call, and I give a soft yip, and a medium yip, and I taking that little lonesome hen, give that little soft yip. You know, I think that's very important. So don't be afraid to pick up several different calls and take with you and learn how to master them.
Here, Harold. Have you a drink.
Shoot, that stuff made to sell, not to drink. Put that stuff over here.
Okay, bud, let me show you something here. We talk about something here. This is called the Gobbler's Guide. You know, we've come out with a lot of products over the years, but this is our time to talk about this one particular, and I have to say that I feel like that when you can take this Gobbler Guide and one call and do more to improve your hunting than anything you can do, simply because we have wrapped up 84 years of hunting in this thing, of how we can tell people in a short version of how the transitions occur on turkeys.
In any state in the United States.
In any state. This is a pretty slick deal. All you've got to do here, what this thing is you got these states stacked over top of one another, just so we can get information on them. But the key to it is states are marked out in zones.
Yeah.
Obviously, those are imaginary lines, but we had to pick a place. So if you're close to the line, that's not going to change anything much one way or the other. You just be in zone 3, zone 2, that's only going to change by about 15 days. So we're not really concerned about that as much as we are trying to help you understand the transitions that turkeys go through.
All right, you got 3 zones.
You got 3 zones, there's 5 transitions.
All right.
Turkeys are going to go from the time they get out of their winter mode until they get back into that fall mode. About every 15 days times 5 is 75 days, they're going to make all their changes, and then for 240 days out of the year, or whatever that difference is, they're basically the same.
In other words, you're trying to tell me I don't need to hunt turkeys the first season in most states like I do at the end of the season?
Absolutely not. Let me give you a prime example then.
All right.
How many times have we been right here in Kentucky, and we've had friends of ours, including ourselves, to go to Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and somebody say, I ain't going to hunt down there no more because the turkeys ain't gobbling.
That's right.
You heard that a bunch, haven't you?
Oh, lots of times.
Turkeys
It's happened to me.
yeah, well, turkeys don't gobble down there.
Yeah.
That's because turkeys are doing something down there that we never get to witness up here because our seasons don't open up the same time.
All right, their season usually would be in what, one of earlier transitions?
Absolutely. When they come out of that winter mode,
Yeah.
they're going to come out the 1st of March, and by the time that 15 days is up, you're going to see hens and gobblers getting close together. You're going to see big groups of them together, and they're going to gobble 3 or 4 times on the roost, and you may have 8 or 10 gobblers and 15 to 20 hens, and they fly down, they strut behind those hens the rest of the
They
day.
gobble early, and then when they hit the ground, it's more strutting, not much gobbling.
That's exactly
Okay.
right. So if you pick your zone, you pick your state, you pick your date, it's going to tell you what transition in. Transition 2, these turkeys are coming out of they're breaking down into smaller groups.
That's
You know,
right.
there's a time you can get down there about the 1st of April in those places, which we're always up here hunting somewhere. Well, even Tennessee.
Yeah.
Tennessee's a prime example. In the 1st of April, you know how those hens are getting down to 3 or 4 hens and a couple of gobblers?
Yeah. Very vocal then.
All hens are very vocal. You can be vocal then.
Yeah.
That's the time to be vocal.
Yeah.
All this shows you how to hunt them. It tells you the transition these turkeys are in. It tells you exactly what to say, when to say it. There's 5 transitions. They change. You know, you take the state of Tennessee, and I want to emphasize this. You take state of Tennessee, opens the 1st day of April. It goes through the 7th day of May or the 10th day of May, give or take a few days. There's 3 transitions that occur. 3 changes those turkeys that will occur during that time period. You and I sitting here in Kentucky, we can go down to Tennessee, opening day, turkeys are in transition 2. They're in transition 3 at the same time ours is in transition 3 here in Kentucky,
Right.
but we don't get to hunt them here until the 20th.
That's right.
So how we hunt them in Kentucky has nothing to do with how we're going to hunt them into Tennessee, because they're going through a different transition.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people, David, I've said this and said it, will start hunting turkeys the first of the season and never change.
You know what, when you was making that statement years ago, you knew exactly what you were saying, but we didn't know how to put it with the transition part.
That's right.
You made a perfect statement. People never change. They use the same calls. They use the same everything. You've got to change with these turkeys. You got to recognize the change. This chart here can help you change. I don't care what state you're in. This works.
If I'd had this chart right here 25 years ago, goodness, would that ever help me?
Well, I'm going to tell you what it did, Harold. I'm going to give you a prime example for everybody out there. You're a great caller. I'm not even an average caller. Don't pretend to be. I know a lot about the turkeys. You overemphasized your ability to call turkeys because you were good. You could call up turkeys. You didn't have to put a lot of emphasis on what that turkey was doing. I had to put a lot of emphasis on knowing that turkey. I had to get to the right place, and all I had to do was make a cluck or a yip, and that helped me. Knowing these transitions will help you become, as a mediocre caller, a great turkey hunter.
Our good friend Ted Salter had been watching several Alabama gobblers in this area. He'd figured out their habits and shared his findings with David Harold and Hunter Burns. The gobblers had been roosting along this field edge and flying down to the hens. They were spending several hours strutting around the hens. But on this day, the hens were late flying down, and these gobblers just had to come and investigate Harold's lonesome hen. Talking about an ideal situation. With Hunter placed out front with his Remington 870 ready, Harold mixes up the calling, hoping to convince these gobblers the girls are back. This Jake is interested, which will usually prove fatal for any longbeards that are watching. The thought of a Jake getting to the hen first is just not kosher to an adult gobbler.
Shoot the back turkey.
Yes, yes.
You know, in Alabama, you can't use an artificial decoy, but we had a live one standing around. He flew out there in that road this morning. You know what? When I first saw him, I thought it was a hen, and I thought they was gonna mess this whole party up, because he kept looking and looking and looking, and Harold was calling. He was wondering where a hen was, but I could hear them two gobblers gobbling, come around that curve down there all the time. I said, boy, if he don't spoil the party right here. Now I saw a little old beard sticking out on that dude, and I said, that's a Jake, and they ain't gonna stand this.
Yeah, they didn't.
They come running up there just as hard as they come. And that was a little bit too quick, but that was great.
You know what? It ain't no such thing as too easy for turkey.
I was close to it, wasn't it?
Let's talk a little bit about the scenario here. We're in the bottomland, swamp country right here, and I think Chuck and Dixon them chose to go to the hill country this morning. And really, you told us last night, the water's up high here. I mean, you got a lot of backwater. You had about 5 inches of water in Birmingham, and this Warrior River's up. And what you told us was, first of all, it's located these turkeys, and then the hens would absolutely leave this bottom country at some point. And if they ever did, these turkeys are going to be lonesome this early in the season. That was the whole program, wasn't it?
Yes, sir, it was. I guarantee you, these two 2-year-olds, they were ready for some action this morning. They didn't have many hens. They had one hen on the other end. They were going to her as fast as they could.
Well, I heard one clucking down here, and the only real hen they really heard was Harold sitting over in them bushes.
He was doing a good job.
You know, Hunter, you've hunted down here, and I've hunted before with you, and you're an excellent turkey hunter. I mean, I hunt with a lot of different people. all over the country, and you're an excellent turkey hunter. And you know somebody has taught you through the years, and I talked to you about it, and you said you had a great teacher. And
I did.
And it was your dad, and you know, you're lucky enough to have somebody to really pass on that old tradition to you and show you how to do it right, and how to really enjoy it, and you have. And I mean, that's great.
How many times did you hunt with your dad? I mean, I know he died early in your life, but
He died about 6 years ago, and I don't know how many hundreds of times we hunted, thousands of times. Since I was 3 years old.
Y'all was best buddies, wasn't
We
you?
were best friends. And not best, but we were best friends.
He took you every time he went?
Every time he left the house, I was with him.
That's great.
You know what I see in that?
Not just turkey hunting, but, you know, it didn't matter if it was baseball, football, tiddlywinks.
Well, you know what, Harold, I see in that is, and of course I feel the same way, and you do too, especially we got grandkids now, trying to do the same thing with them. You spend the time with your kids now, you come up with a hunter. That's part of the expression here, because that's your name. But you come up with a guy that's got good principles, good morals, and that's the reason that we was tickled death to get you on our pro staff. And with the attitude you got, I know your daddy instilled all that into you, and I wished I'd have known him, but I think I do. I think I've met him.
Well, I hope so. He was very precious to me. Very precious.
It's the first part of Alabama's spring season. Dixon Brook is set up in an area where he's been hearing several turkeys. Chuck is 50 yards back up the ridge using an old yeller and mouth calls, hoping to entice a gobbler into Dixon's gun range. There wasn't a hen around, so when these two gobblers hit the ground, some excited calling and scratching in the leaves fired them up, and they came straight in. Listen close. You'll hear the drumming of the dominant longbeard.
What happened? That's great.
Where's the turkey? He flew.
It's rough when a man changes shotguns on you right before you get ready to go hunting and says, "Here, shoot my gun," and then loads it with blacks. What do you think about it?
I hope it had a blank in it, because I'm not accustomed to missing a turkey that's sitting in my lap.
Dixon, I've always heard you had a great attitude. I guess we'll find out, won't we?
I guess we will.
You're smiling.
But,
I like it.
You know, this is the first time I've shot this weapon. And I think if I had to do it over again and you wanted me to shoot this weapon, I'd want to shoot it a couple of times at a target to be sure.
There's no doubt.
Because I put that white bead right on that sapsucker's head, and all he did was fly when I pulled the trigger.
Well, that's a good tip. A guy does not need to go to the woods to hunt with a gun that he's going to shoot for the first time. But you know what the good point is?
What?
That's one of your turkeys. It's not hurt. You can hunt him another day, and you got to enjoy watching him come up here.
That's great. Of course, he will be a little better educated.
Did you hear that and answer your gunshot?
I did, right.
Let's go find him.
Okay, great. And we...
Later in the day, Chuck and Dixon are back in the same area.
Look how heavy he is.
Man, you know, Hunter was in here the other day scouting. He tells me this hardwood area over here just torn up the turkey side.
Is that his footprints? I bet he's turkey hunting. I know about his scouting.
No, he told me he wasn't going to be hunting. I told him he's just trying to help you guys out.
Is that a big ridge over there?
Yeah, and he says it's torn up with turkeys scratching up in that area. A lot of sand.
It's midday. We've been around, ain't heard a turkey gobble. Let's go over there and just set up for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And we'll take turns napping and calling.
That's good. You know, this is across the side of that draw where we heard that other turkey gobbling first thing this morning.
So it's just that bottom, across that bottom, and this is a ridge. That big ridge over there is where we were this morning, where you made that fine shot.
Yeah, thank you a lot, buddy.
During the first phase of the spring season, turkeys stay flocked up. They usually roost together and fly down together. Turkeys can be really vocal right off the roost for an hour or so, then things quiet down. Usually the hens are quiet and the gobblers are busy strutting behind them. Areas that were alive with turkey sounds earlier can be totally silent up in the day. Now, this is the time to hunt patiently and close to the freshest sign. The turkeys that you heard here earlier won't be far away.
Dixon, that old Alabama gobbler getting heavy yet?
You know, it feels good. Look right here. Look at the trail. Look at, I agree, look at it.
And some old boy drove right by.
Wait a minute.
He's strutting all in here around these hens.
You think this is the same turkey?
I don't know. You may have done him a favor. He strutted in there and you carried him back out. You may have done him a favor.
He did me a favor after what happened to me this morning.
Well, you know what? There's a perfect example of what's going on early phase of the season. These gobblers are with hens. You got an hour or so in the morning, and then you've got to find the sign and you got to hunt the sign. I mean, that's what it takes.
Well, it was proven to me because we didn't hear a gobble at all after 8:30. And finally this one answered at about noontime. But we'd been sitting there for 30, 40 minutes just in an area that was covered up with sign, being real quiet and being patient.
Well, go back into the areas, call sporadically, you know, every 15, 20 minutes to get hid. And listen not only for gobbling, but for strutting. Because, you know, he came strutting in there, and I tell you what, I liked your second shot better than your first one.
Well, you're a great guy.
Walter, so many of the hunts in here are centered around aggressive calling. Turkeys run right in. One thing that I don't think we emphasize enough is how many times we go out there in areas, and this is going to relate back to the gobbler guide in a way, because a lot of these scenarios we're going to talk about are going to fall like in transition period 1, when you got early morning gobbling hens yelping, and then your latter transitions when turkeys shut down.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go in these areas that you feel confident turkeys are in and hunt on up in the day when they've shut down?
You know, that's one of the great features of this thing right here. It gives you a game plan. It tells you exactly what to do. And obviously you've done your scouting and you said a place you have confidence in, very important. If you didn't have confidence in a place, you don't need to be there.
I agree.
You want to try to slip into that area as quiet as you possibly can without being detected. Ease into whether it's a strut zone or someplace there's been a lot of feeding sign or someplace there's dusting and turkey, a lot of turkey sign.
Okay, you said something right there, slip in.
Exactly.
Pre-plan, scouting,
exactly.
Pre-plan, how are you going to get into that area? You know, unless it's an area you know nothing about. Then you take maps and stuff like that, learn your area and learn how to get in and out of those areas without spooking your turkeys.
First of all, the turkeys haven't went anywhere. They're still there. They're just not being vocal. And they're still huntable, very, very huntable.
Okay.
Always start out slow and soft. Well, the first thing, I should back up, the first thing you want to do is take your time about picking out a spot to sit.
Okay.
Because you never know which direction the turkey may come from. All right? Make it a tree that you can turn around on. That's not gonna, you're not going to have any obstructions with your shotgun.
In the shade.
In the shade for at least an hour or so, if you possibly can. Because I like to stay an hour in a spot like that, unless something else happens. A lot of times you sit up there and you call and you can hear a distant gobbler off 2-3 ridges over and go to him, just by sitting and being quiet. But first thing I'm going to do is call soft in case the birds are close. Hopefully they will be.
That's right.
And make sure you're ready before you ever call. Gloves, head net on, ready to hunt.
Okay. Give me the call.
Confidence factor.
What are you calling soft? Do you mix your calls up?
I try to mix my calls up. A lot of hunters get too repetitious.
Okay.
Turkey's not really repetitious a lot of times. They have broken yelps, and it's good to break your calling up.
Okay, how much calling do you do?
I'm going to do a couple series like that, and then I'll get a little more aggressive if there's no answer, a little bit louder, because I want to cast my call farther. Maybe the bird's a few hundred yards away.
I've noticed you use that double-sided box.
Love to use a box
Give me that
call.
scenario.
One of the most realistic, overlooked calls on the market is this right here.
And also, you got to read the weather. You know, you've got to relate. You've got to decide whether there's been a lot of turkey hunting pressure in that area.
Right.
You know, like David and Harold mentioned earlier, read the turkeys, the hens. You know, call pretty much like they are.
Exactly.
That box call.
If it's wet, I may choose to leave the box at the house, or I'll put it in a bread sack. I'll use the slate call with the PowerPoint, or I'll use a tube call, which I use a lot of the time.
You're exactly right. Okay, so how often do you call? You say you sit there an hour?
I'm going to give it 10, 15 minutes. I don't exactly watch my watch, but I'm listening, constantly listening for gobbles in the distance, because a gobble up close you're going to hear, obviously.
Okay.
And if it's dry, listen for turkeys walking in the leaves. If they're not very vocal, they'll walk up on you. You know, do not create a dangerous situation for yourself, because a man sounds like a turkey coming to you.
Okay.
So be cautious, but be ready in case there's birds and you hear something walk to position. I've heard turkeys strut and drum and be the first thing I hear.
Oh, many times. Well, that boils back to what you said earlier. Have confidence in your place and have confidence that you can call a turkey up in that area.
The first time you give up, I promise you, you'll look up and there that gobbler will be, and you'll be out of position and you've blown your chance.
Now let's travel to Tennessee with Ben Mayberry, Chris Parrish, and Walter Parrott.
I think only about 50 more yards right up here. There's a little flat bench field up here. And it's right below where I saw him strutting about 300 more yards up the hill. And I think maybe he's going to work his way down across that bench field, maybe strut there this morning, come down through this thicket. So
You said he had some hen. Do you think we ought to use some decoys?
Put that jake out there with the hen. It might do the trick.
Let's go set up.
You heard the plans. The Knight Hale video team is fortunate to have good friends like Ben, who are willing to share their spots with us. This is Ben's home turf near Gallatin, Tennessee. He has patterned the habits of a flock of turkeys and has a good feeling that a setup here will give Grand National calling champion Chris Parrish an opportunity at a gobbler. Ben and Walter will stay back, safely away, and hopefully get to see a show. This area has lots of fields and small woodlots. Terrain like this makes it easy for a gobbler to hook up with hens, so scouting the routes of turkeys in places like this is very important. Decoys are also a deadly tool, especially if you place a jake and hen decoy side by side. Dominant gobblers can't stand a jake around a hen in his territory. This tactic can entice a longbeard away from his hens. Now, once a gobbler commits to the decoys, there's no need for calling, unless you want to bring him out of strut for the shot.
Get the end again away.
Kill him. Kill him.
In a situation like that, I mean, visual contact, perfect. Perfect.
So he just can't stand the fact that Jake's going to be around another hen in that area.
He's the man. Those are all his girls. He is very selfish, and he wanted to show that little guy who the boss was.
Chris, I noticed you didn't call very loud and a whole lot. What's the deal there?
Well, turkeys haven't been very vocal, and the hens obviously work vocal, and there's no point in calling loud when you're working with turkeys that aren't being vocal. Just give them enough to go on, try to get their curiosity up, come look for you a little bit, and work fine. They come in, he followed them.
You just wanted to get them there where they could see that decoy, those decoys down there.
Let that Jake decoy do the trick on him, and if you notice, the hens went one way and he broke off and come the other.
Exactly. I think that's a good tip. You know, if you pretty much read the woods and what the turkeys are doing in the woods, and even you can pay attention to the birds out there. If the birds aren't very vocal, you know, and a barometer change or whatever, things aren't active, tone it down a little bit. You can't lose anything.
You can't go wrong by being quiet or calm.
Right.
Well, old Ben had those turkeys pegged, didn't he?
He sure did. He knew where this boy was roosting with those hens, and he did a really fine job.
Walter, how come you didn't do any calling?
Well, you didn't notice the look at me right when we sit down, did you? It was like...
Was that put your calls in your pocket?
That's right. I did slip it in my mouth, but I wasn't going to use it.
That didn't have anything to do with the Grand Nationals this year, I don't guess, did it?
No.
Who won that?
Did you go?
Yeah, I was there.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah.
Oh, I was working off a hard.
You got second, really... that's all I know. Chris, how'd my shotgun shoot?
Shot good. I'm not real sure I'm going to give it up. I might take that.
Well, you know what? Now, David Hale has shot my 870 and killed a turkey, and you shot it. I hadn't shot it yet, so maybe it's about time that I got to shoot the gun.
They've got the do-war on.